So hello Katu friends. Right, here we have the Katu 20 by Orbea. I thought I'd make this video because as was when I was coming to buy, I was struggling to find any YouTube videos as a review on this bike. There were some, but they were kind of electric based. Maybe is it the 50 and the 40, etc. So I wanted to make this review. I think it's very similar to the other Orbea, I think it is. Is it the with the Stumpy Archer rear hub? But I paid a bit more to get the Nexus, the Shimano Nexus rear hub, which is here. So what I'll do is I'll start from the front to the back. I've owned the bike for a little bit. I've put a bit of mileage on the bike now. So hopefully this review will help on your purchase or not to purchase. It may come. Right, start from the basket. I think the basket is pretty damn sturdy. It came separate in the box. I believe Orbea, however you want to pronounce it, doesn't really specify a weight, but looking at it, looking at the size of them welds and the thickness of the tube and the size of them brackets down here, I think that basket will take some weight. The basket doesn't really put you off in terms of balance, like some, well personally, like some reports say, like when you turn the basket stays still. Not having the weight hung on the handlebars as you turn, they're having the momentum of weight doesn't really upset the bike, so having it on the frame, on the head tube, is well done there. The front mudguard did need adjusting. What I did need adjusting on the front here, I've had to cable tie this up and the fit of this cable getting caught in the spokes. I've just cable tied that out of the way. The cabling, the wiring down here on this plug for the front dyno hub, which is a 0.6 watt at 6 volts. So if you're kind of hoping to charge your phone or run some bigger auxiliary lights, you're kind of out of pocket there because you've only got 0.6 watts of power. I redid the cabling there. I think being on a production line it was put through a bit quick and there was a bit of scabby wire sticking out. Anyway, I've taken a picture and I'll post that. The front light is actually pretty sufficient to a point where I would say cycling down dark country lanes, it kicks out actually a pretty damn good bit of light to shine down the road, and for, I'd say, for cars to see you. It is adjustable, so up and down. It's nicely mounted there. I don't think that's going anywhere. The head tube is adjustable, so depending on what ride height you are, because this is a bike that will cater for all kinds of heights, so that is adjustable. Pop the cap off there, Allen key, I think it was 6mm or something. Does up and down to make sure you tighten up, put the bung back on. As for the brakes, these Shimano brakes, they're Shimano, aren't they? I think they'll last a lifetime, aren't they? Like all Shimano products, they've got plenty of bite. I can put the front brake on and it will pop the front of the wheel off the air. Plenty of bite, more than enough for this little town bike. You see these brakes on mountain bikes, so no issues there. The only issue I did have, these brakes are generally operated by a one finger operation. So as you can see here, nice wide grip on the palms, nice round town, one finger. They were over here, the bracket was over here, so when you went to grab, I was having to use all my hands, and it was like that, it was in the way. So bracket should be out the way, one finger. Also the brake was up here. Brakes need to be down a bit, so as you hold it, the arm, the top of your wrist, top of your hand and your top of your finger should all be in line like this. So if yours comes, bring them over, drop them down, so all in line, and you're much more comfortable to use. Same goes with the right one. Might have to move the bell over. I've left that on, it's just handy in it to for pedestrians. The welding's lovely on the bike, really quite happy with that. Nice tidy welds. Don't know if it was done by hand or a robot, who knows, but there we go. Nice. 48 tooth front chain ring. Seems to be sufficient. I wouldn't mind going to a 44, to be honest with you. I've been looking for an extra £25 for a front chain ring. The hills could feel like it could go down a notch for the hills, especially if you live in a hilly city. I would, if you're buying it from a bike shop, see if you can wangle a 44 tooth on there. You'll see what I mean if you get it in 48 tooth. You quite often find yourself riding in number 1 and you think, oh, I could just go a bit easier. There we are, number 1. So I think the highest I go is number 4, and it does go up to 8 speed. So wow, I'm nowhere near seen that. So to make use of all the gears, I would say 44. Right, enough of that. Pedals, you normally get some crappy old pedals with these bikes, but it seems to be pretty good. They nice little, they're quite smart. Nothing special, Chinese jobs, but seem alright. The seat, which I'm quite chuffed about, was a lovely finish, like a velvety finish on top, and it is by that recognised make, Silly Royale. Real comfortable. They haven't skimped on there, which is quite nice. Nice chunky seat post. Again, quite happy with that. My family will be riding this bike, not just me. I will be fitting a quick release dropper post, and then kind of mark it where various family members would be sat. So quick operation up and down. Moving on to the rear mudguard. This mudguard was sat too close to the wheel, and inside here there's a cable. There's a cable up inside here for the rear light, which you can see just there. I did had to raise it up a bit by undoing these screws and lifting it up, and that stopped the rear wheel from catching on the inside of the mudguard. Again, I think it's just where it was just slapped through the production line. It just hadn't been adjusted properly. Someone obviously gives 0 fucks, don't they, really, when building such things on their bike. The rear hub feels real nice. Again, I think it's just the gear ratios. You do see these boys that cycle and girls cycle around the world with these kind of hubs. The maintenance free. It gives it like the single speed kind of look, real tidy, no gear derailleur to mess about with. I did notice that these screws weren't, when I checked the bike over when I first got it, these screws weren't in very well in terms of, there wasn't much bite. So I took them out and just put a bit of thread locker. Took them out, you can see a bit of the blue glue on there, which is again just thread locker. Don't use a high strength, otherwise you won't get a damn thing out. Just use a medium or low strength thread locker, and that should just help prevent them from rattling out. The tyres seem alright. I have seen people putting some BMX tyres on there and getting a bit creative and putting some bit knobblies on there, which looks alright, I suppose, but again, it's just resistance when pedalling. The one issue I do have currently is the rear light. It is a bit frustrating, really. It's when you're pedalling, you come to a stop, it stays on. That's fantastic. The issue I have is the beam pattern. With the way it's sat on the mudguard, if I look side on, imagine that the beam pattern just comes out straight from it, so it'll come out this kind of angle. The issue is it then just shoots straight up into the air. So when you stood behind, you stop and then kind of walk back over there, say, when it's dark, you don't get much light from it. Only when you look at it directly do you get light. The angle of that light is not right on that mudguard. So if you're buying this bike hoping you've got a rear light, I would be very, I would say just be cautious, because that rear light will not be telling the traffic behind particularly well that you're there. So to get around that issue, I've thought about mounting it in various places. I've looked at other lights on the market and I'm struggling to find something. So the only thing I can do is put a bike rack on the back, you know, one of them flat racks, which I have seen some owners doing already on Google, and then putting the light, mount it on the back. You can get Pacific lights for those racks. I think that's the only way you're going to get around it if you just want to use it standalone. So it kind of defines the point of running an extra light on the seat post, but you kind of paid the extra money to get the dyno on the front hub. So do you know what I mean? Like, so there we go. Rear brake, fantastic. The front brake, I did actually have to line up a bit on the disc. It was out, so it was catching as it was spinning around. It was going ding 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 ding. So there we go. What else? That rear centre stand is fantastic. It seems to be really well made, really overly engineered, which is, it just, but if you buy it, I don't think that thing will probably last the longest out of all the bike, I think. Just looking, these are the bolts where you undo, and this is like your tension for your chain, because again you undo those bolts or slacken them off, and there's a screw again the other side here. You wind that screw and this brings the whole thing back, and then you tighten it back up again, this bracket, and then the wheel is then attached to this bracket, if you know what I mean. So this is forward and backwards, and that's just to drop it out. That screw is to hold the bracket as you adjust it. If you catch my drift. You know, I've got holes ready already in here, I think for a child's seat or a bike rack. So again, if you want extra luggage and panniers on the back, you're set to go. A few of the cables, actually, is a nice little touch, are in the frame. So here you've got your wiring, and you've also got your rear gear cable. So yeah, rear gear cable running inside the frame, and it pops out the bottom. Again, it's just nice clean look. Apart from that, everything I think is dandy. I think it's a bike that if I was running a city bike hire company, I think this bike is so well made and strong that I'll be happy for people to take it out day in, day out. It is solid. It probably doesn't look it in the video, but when you just handle the bike, bash, you know, drop it, kick it, it just feels lovely. I got it for just going to the post office, riding along the promenade, taking to the campsites, stuff like that. So yeah, that's about it really. Just having a check, all the spokes were tight, the pressures were good when I picked it up. Only issue, again, I'll recap, is the rear light, very poor in terms of positioning, and the front chain ring could probably do with a 44 tooth, because you're never going to use the full gear ratio. That's another thing I was going to say. The Stumpy Archer, so it's like the same model as this, but in the Katu range they also do a Stumpy Archer rear gear hub. The Nexus does have a larger gear ratio in terms of gear spread. It's done by percentage. I forget what it is, but the Nexus is a wider gear range. The Stumpy Archer have been around for a long time. They're a UK company, but they've been chucking stuff on bikes for easily since the 70s, so they've been around. They are reliable. It is £100 cheaper, but I went with the Nexus because hoping for that gear ratio, but you're kind of a bit sold out by that front chainring being too big. That's about it really. I hope this video helps, because I could have done with it when buying it. So yeah, if you get the other ones with the rear derailleur, I don't think you'll. I think they'll just be just as good, to be honest. Just a different way of changing gear. But yeah, over and out, and thank you for watching.